It ain't long enough, dude.
Wait, what are you at?
275.
No way.
Yo, what up, guys? My name's Kyle, RR Buildings, and we build post frames. But this post frame, this is gonna be the biggest post frame we've ever built. Right there, that is the dimension. It's 304 foot long. And Greg, hey Greg. Greg is on the other end. So this sucker is gonna be 96 foot wide, 304 foot long, and it is by far the largest building structure we've ever done. So let's get into it. All right, so here's the deal, guys. This building, like I said, is 96 by 304. I mean, just looking at Greg down in the distance, it's a massive building. It's a massive structure, and we are going to need to take a ton of time here at the beginning to make sure that our layout is correct, because at this size, any problem, I mean, if we're off just a little, it can be amplified and multiplied all the way up to the roof. We could have all sorts of problems. And give it a pull, Greg. And therefore, this is very important. I mean, this is our first day, and I don't expect us to probably do a whole lot of anything, but literally, if we dig a hole today, I would be stoked. The biggest problem being that we are in windy conditions right now. Therefore, pulling string lines is not gonna be easy. Luckily, we have our layout station, our 180, so we can get some nice laser lines, and there'll be nice square laser lines, and it should help us ensure that we're, you know, at this distance, a tape measure at 300 feet can stretch, can, you know, grow with heat. So there's a lot of things that could go wrong, and like I said, when you're getting this big, those little issues can be multiplied into big issues. So we're gonna get our first line here. This is the one we're gonna use off this little embankment. It's kind of our first starting point. And Greg is kind of as far as we can go that way. So this is about where this end is gonna be, and I can already tell I'm too close to the telephone pole here, so I need to move this off because I need to be able to get around. And we're gonna be right about where this cone is. Let me give it a pull, Greg. That's good enough. We're gonna need some walkie-talkies too. Okay, so that's basically 304. Good. Now I don't know where square is, but there's really nothing to square off of. We could go off the road. It doesn't really matter. We're just going off this pad, and we're gonna make sure that it kind of fits within the confines of what we're after, which is he's got semi-traffic that makes the curve, so we don't wanna push it too far to this other building. And then we've got a little bit of slope way off in that far corner where the gravel pad stops. Now, let me show you this, guys. Take a look at this. For those of you that have been following RR Buildings for tons of years, this is the first building that we built him. And this was the biggest building we had ever built at that point. This building is 92 by 256 foot long, but it only has a 72 foot clear span. It has 20 foot storage units down the side. And then on the other far end, there's a 40 by 72 shop that's fully insulated. And we will actually be adding another 104 feet of insulated shop on this building, which is why we're building more storage, because he's losing almost half of his storage in this building. So this customer, MSK Golf Carts, they've made a huge business. They've done really well. They're really great people. And when we built this, it was kind of like, how are you ever gonna need it? And here we are building 96 by 304 right here on the same site. And it is our new, or will be our new, largest building ever. So I just want to take a minute to kind of explain to you guys that, like, this layout portion, while I probably won't go insane in depth, I will kind of share with you some of the tips and tricks on how we are able to try to achieve some level of accuracy without bringing in like a GPS layout person, which I could have done that, but I like to challenge. I like to, you know, learn and get better myself, and I've never laid a building out this big, so I want to do it. And with our technology, our 180 layout station, we should be able to be really darn good. And maybe to your right, just like a half a step or something. So what we're gonna start with is an eyeball line, and we got the 180 in the center because at 304 feet, I don't trust the accuracy if I just set a 180 right here. So the first thing we're gonna do is get this line established. We're gonna find where the center and the two corners are so that we can make marks, probably set some jet stakes or something. And then what we'll do is we'll come down here, we'll set the 180 up again on this corner. We will shoot back to the midpoint that we established to be in a perfectly straight line with the laser. That will then lock on, give us an exact 90 so that we can figure out where this front corners. So basically what we've got here, I'm gonna treat this like 4 large buildings, and we're gonna square and get accurate dimensions on those 4 buildings in order to make the one massive building. And you know, if you're into a really big structure like this, that's kind of the best way to kind of just break it down, because if you can be square and accurate on these 4 little buildings, right, then you should be square and accurate on the big building overall. Nope. All right, come pick me up, brother. All right, now that we have this line locked in, what we're gonna do is we're gonna verify where it's at way down there. And then if we like it, this will be our constant line. We'll get our batter board set up, and then we will mark on all the batter boards exactly where this laser is, and it will make our job so much easier. Good enough for the girls I run with.
Yeah.
Yep. All right, so we're gonna go ahead, let's get this batter board set up while we're here. Plenty out of our way, Matt. I think that grass is messing me up, dude.
The grass? No.
All right. So I'm just getting a general idea where this batter board's gonna get set up. Make sure I'm good. And then once we get the batter boards all set up, we'll actually use the laser to get an exact mark right where it's supposed to be. This could be a little tricky. Make sure our strings are graded, and then it gives us an idea kind of where everything is at, because our strings will all be off of this, which is actually going to be finished floor. Okay, that is close enough to set this for now. Go ahead and put one on the right side of that guy. Yeah, and that'll give us an idea where our batter boards, because we're gonna mark the batter boards exactly.
Right.
Yeah, so 76 feet, that is going to be right in between a hole because we're 8 foot on center. So right here is where we want our batter board. That way when we go to dig our holes, we know we're not going to be hitting them. So Greg, go ahead and, this is just a midpoint batter board, okay? Because we have the laser set up, we're gonna be able to get our ends, but then also get a bunch of points down the middle, because windy conditions, this is way too big of a building to rely solely on a string from an end to end. So even middle to end, I think, is 152 feet. Mm-hmm. That is too big. So we're gonna set up we're gonna basically set this up in quarters. You want me to hold this for you?
Nope.
Okay.
The other high point, I believe.
Yeah, I would say it's a little high, but it's all good. Okay. So this is one of the tips that I'd share with you on when doing really long walls. Set yourself up a bunch of midpoints so that you can be accurate, because even the slightest of breeze will cause all sorts of problems on a really long line. I'd say go ahead and hit it. So this is kind of there. Okay, Greg, somewhere right in there, big dog. 156. I'll hold it. I'm really good at holding it steady.
Mm-hmm. You're so good. Full swings.
I mean, that's why you use a sledge, right? So you don't have to work so hard.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't want you to go down a hair, but
I know. Big truck.
all right. So now we have 300-foot wall lasered And it will allow us now to set up, oh, we got one more batter board. Mother. All right, well, let's go do it. I think we did. All right, so now we've got our laser marks on all of our batter boards, and we're just gonna set a nail where those marks are. And let's hope that when we go string this out and we look at the string line, we're like, yeah, that's actually pretty straight because, you know, oh, I don't think there's that much wind to affect our laser line, but you never know. That should be good. All right, 304 feet. I just hope that this is enough batter boards to not get messed up by the wind too bad. Can you hurry up and get to the other end, dude? Dude, that's like way too far to see the other end. Where did it at, buddy? Yep, I like it. Okay, so that's like the hardest part. We need to get this line established. It's straight. So what that means now is that we can use this string line off of these batter boards to square other marks and other batter boards over here. Because you gotta remember, not only are we 304 foot long, but we've got a line of post at 48 feet in the middle, and then another line of post 96 feet away. So we really have a lot of points that we need to confirm to be accurate if we want to, when we get to the roof, be nice and square. And honestly, guys, at 304 foot long, 96 foot wide, we don't need to be perfect, but it will make our job easier all around if everything is as good as possible at this stage. So now that we have this, we're gonna get our first perpendicular line, our 90-degree line, way down on that other corner. So let's walk to the other end. Lucky for us, we're kind of just trying to be arbitrarily close to where we want to start because there is no exact pin location. So Greg is giving me a plumb line off the string. Okay, go ahead and move yourself, buddy. Now, plumb it up the other way, and we'll get a mark on this string indicating right where our corner of our building is going to be. So now, if we set this guy, that is pretty much money. So because this line was done off the laser, I can lock this receiver back on the first batter board. That should then give me a square line to get our batter board over there. So if you want to move this over for the next batter board, Greg, I'll get this set up. Hooked on that nail? So that's just so we can eyeball our batter board, make sure that we're not going to be in the way of our string. You know, Greg, are we going to be like, oh, now we can go ahead and move this whole thing forward?
Well, what do we, let's check off of there. Let's see.
Well, that was 60, like 60 feet-ish.
This one right here?
Yeah, that's like, so I mean, I don't think it really matters.
The issue is if we do that.
But we never measured this to be 304. We never measured that. So we really don't know unless you want to.
We could right now. We could just pull it right off of that.
Pull that tape, but it's all on,
yeah. Bring that tape over.
Oh, it's just everything takes so long because of how far away it is. How far out?
We're about a foot past the cone.
That's not bad. I want to see how much is going to be outside of that building and if it's worth, because if we're going to move this thing, it means we got to redo everything to find a new end over here. And most likely all those batter boards, we'd have to be really dialed in so that they're not right where we're going to be digging holes. So I really don't want to move it. It's going to be close.
I think it doesn't matter.
What we were worried about was if this was too far out here and half this building was going to be out here where all this fill has to go, you know, tubing this up would be a pain. But we're just going to have this little triangle corner here, and when we get our brackets all done, they can fill this in with rock. I'm not concerned with it. Watching you walk all the way down there while I'm waiting was like,
Is there a rock right there?
No, there's no rock. None.
You sure?
Yes, I'm watching it. You're almost there. I can feel it in my bones. Isn't this so much easier than trying to pull a bunch of tape measures and check dimensions for square? The 180 does have its nuances. It does cause yourself a little bit of frustration because sometimes, especially at ground level, it doesn't like to see the receiver perfectly at distance because it's, you know, shining that laser at kind of an arc, and we're down at the ground where it doesn't do as good of a job. But this is so much easier than having to check all those stinking diagonals and walk around and push and pull the tape. This is about as accurate as it gets.
Still good.
So now kind of the moment of truth. I mean, I don't expect this to be perfect. I expect it to be really close, but there's a lot of variables involved. So Greg is holding me at a foot. I should be 96.9 right about here, and I should be pretty dang close on this laser. So I am within a 1/4 inch of perfect, if all things are perfect, which would be Greg holding it exactly on my mark, me at an exact distance from the end, squared and perpendicular to the end. Like, there's a lot of factors, but that tells me that we're definitely in the ballpark. So Greg, I say we're good there, buddy.
Okay.
Let's get this batter board set up. And what we're gonna do now is, since we have this L set up and square, we'll now use it to set up this third wall. We're probably gonna have to do some back and forth because the laser's at the corner, and 300 foot is too far for that laser's accuracy level that I'm comfortable with. So what we'll do is we'll measure out, get our mid batter board and this one, and then we'll move the laser to the middle, and when we lock back onto this corner, it should give us a nice straight line to the other end. That's pretty impressive. I was literally getting the tone at exactly 96.9. That's exactly where we want to be. I'm trying to just take my time and hit it straight down so I don't
feel like
blow.
sometimes when you think about it too much, then that's when you miss.
So what you're saying is so now that we got the mid mark, we like the measurement off the mid mark, we like the laser off the mid mark being squared to our end wall. It's probably gonna be, you know, one of the nicest, straightest buildings, because when you're this accurate over such a long distance, then you're really, really freaking good. I mean, I bet we could be an inch off and it would all go together just fine. But knowing that we're like, I mean, we just measured it and it was right. We were a 1/4 inch on that one. If there's a 1/4 inch swale in 150 feet, it's gonna look like a laser line. You know, you think about that, Greg? Mm-hmm. A 1/4 inch off on 150 feet.
That's not much.
It's pretty much not really anything. I mean, it's something, obviously. We don't want to discredit it.
That's it. Nice, nice, solid.
4 inches? That's 4 inches? Bro, that looks like I gotta go a mile yet. Oops. Kind of dropped that, yep. We're so straight on that, Greg, and we got our square line. I feel good about it.
Put it in a foot.
228, somewhere right in there. This is probably right here going to be the most inconsistent thing that we do on this build, is pull the tape 303 foot 9 inches to get a measurement down here. But I mean, I don't really know the other good way to do it. At the end of the day, we're gonna be cutting a bunch of lumber up, and when we add it, let's see, I think there's 19 end-to-end 16 footers. By the time we put all those together, nail them up, is probably not going to be exactly 303 foot 9 inch anyway, but I guess we're going to try. So this is so we can figure out where our end starts. We've obviously already got our string line. Burn you a foot? Yeah. At least we're sitting on top of all those batter boards, so that'll give us something. 3049. I like to kind of just let it bounce for a little bit, see what the tape is doing, not overstretch it. Just give it a nice little tug. 3049. So he's burning a foot. So he's holding it at 1 foot, which means I'm not 3039, I'm 3049.
Spongy.
If I really freaking pull, I can get almost an inch out of it. That's not my goal. My goal is to just get it taut, stop, because it never fails. Just through experience, all the buildings grow. I don't know why, they always grow just a little bit, and I think it's a combination of putting all the pieces together. So I try to minimize that as much as possible. I mean, that's within 1/8 of an inch at me snugging it up. I'm gonna call that good. We're good, buddy. Good enough for the girls I run with. Okay, I can't believe it, but it took the entire day to come out here, get this all set up. Obviously, we talked a lot with the customer. We changed up a bunch of things and added some things to the build, so we talked about that. But this is I mean, look at Greg over there. The guy is like this big. He's so far away. Throughout this build, it's gonna be a lot of repetition, you know, so my hope with this series is gonna be more about just the sheer size and massiveness of it and how we deal with that. Things like, how do we deal with setting up 4 corners that are so far apart and so hard to be accurate? And I think we did that with the layout station. I mean, everything really fell into play, but every step of this build is gonna have a very similar, you know, how do we do that? And in fact, we spent all day doing these 4 walls. This is gonna have a row of posts down the middle that the 2 trusses are gonna sit onto, and we still gotta mark that out. And I did the math. If it takes me 5 minutes to dig a hole, clean it out, all that stuff, it's gonna take me 11.5 hours of just straight digging at 5 minutes a hole. It's kind of mind-boggling, but I'm gonna clean up for the day, and we'll be back here to finish out this layout, put all of our X's on the ground, and then start digging. So here we're just pulling off of our constant line over here. We got our nails on our batter boards, and this is not an exact center line that we're making. We're actually offsetting because our columns through the middle will be in the center. So just did some quick math, and we'll get this last batter board set up, a string line, and then we'll be on to making our X's on the ground, double checking all of our measurements, and then the fun begins. I'm excited.
How much more?
1.5 foot? Oh boy. Oh boy. We made it. What do you know? I want to at least check 1 square somewhere. All of our dimensions are good. So if we pull from our constant back to, like, let's say our midpoint or something, which we know also was exactly the dimension, as long as that dimension is square, by all rights, if as long as our diagonal dimension, then by all rights, all the other dimensions, if they're accurate, it should be square.
Should be.
You can't have 1 odd angle in a square. All are either 90 or they're not 90. The nice thing is the further you go on the spool, the more it takes in on every rotation. Now, this is actually a 330 foot tape. This is the Stabila. I don't know, it's like BM 300 or something like that. I don't know what the product number is. But our diagonal is like 318. So it's not gonna probably be super accurate, but I do believe that based on everything that I've seen so far dimensionally, it should be accurate enough for us just to feel good about this being square. once again, if we're off just a little bit, it could be very, very much multiplied into some really big numbers as far as how far off it is. So I'm gonna say somewhere about 318, 5 inches. Give or take, we could be stretching the tape a little bit. Problem that I have is on 330 foot, I'm probably stretching it. I mean, you can see Greg's not moving. I'm stretching the tape. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna check the other corner. If it's within the same sort of dimensionally accurate distance, I don't know, we're gonna go ahead and probably run with it if our other dimensions are right, because if it's on 304 foot and we're roughly 3/4 of an inch out of square equally, then it's probably accurate. This is gonna be tough. So look at that. When I'm pulling this, I'm right at the 318, 319, but I'm burning a foot. I'm at like the same dimension. So square, even though I said I wanted to be 318 and 318.5 and 15/16 or something like that. Greg, we're the exact same dimension. When I'm pulling this tape, I'm gonna have inaccuracy. So I wanna live and die by that dimension, but also if I'm getting accurate, measurements, when I go to pull this monster long tape, it's gonna stretch. So I'm probably stretching this tape an inch. And I also know that depending on the temperature outside, this is a steel tape. It's a nylon coated steel tape. It will grow just like all metal grows in heat. Greg, I'm happy with that, dude. Let's get nails on the corners. We'll get this sucker laid out, get the holes marked, which is gonna take probably an hour in itself, just walking around marking holes. This is too long of a building and I haven't even had to do multiples of 8 that high ever, so they're not fresh in my head. I go about 96, 104. Like that's kind of where things start to get like, I gotta think. So Greg is gonna run my calculator and I'm gonna go ahead and get these all marked out. This is 7, 10 and a half, 15, 10 and a half,
23, 10 and a half, 31, 10 and a half, 39.
Wait, 39, 10 and a half?
Yes.
And we just gotta keep making sure this is good here. 71, 10 and a half. See, so that's a post. And then we've got a post over here. So that is why we put our batter board there, because it's kind of in the middle of those two posts. 87, 10 and a half, 27, 10 and a half.
Yep.
35, 10 and a half.
Yep.
43, 10 and a half.
Yep.
55, 10 and a half. 95. Oof.
That's gonna be.
Yeah, that's, you know what this is, right?
That's
That's what's underneath this hole.
what's that grade?
That's actually really sucky. That is what we will probably have an issue with, and that's why when we were putting those jet stakes through, it was,
Hopefully that with all the settling that this pad has had over the years.
doesn't matter. The auger's still gonna like hit this and it'll do this right here. And then hopefully what that doesn't do is mess up the top of the gravel, because we got tubes figured for, thirds.
Right.
So hopefully when that sand comes out of the ground, which we hope to have sand, it should be
Fill it in.
fill it in. Okay, that's the last one there. So, okay, so customer just added, and I knew this was coming, but didn't know where yet, and they just finally made the decision. We're gonna add a 12-foot overhead here. This is gonna allow them to, ooh, you know what I just realized, Greg? I just had, this is like my ADHD mentality of my brain doing a million things. You guys are like listening, trying to figure out what we're doing. And then I'm already like jumping on to the next thing. This is a 12-foot door. I like, when we're digging holes, I like to try to keep my holes away from other holes. So luckily they're not dead set on an exact dimension. It was just, hey, put it somewhere here, whatever works out for you. Two things I'm doing. One, I'm trying to get it away from other holes. So you'll notice our door column is 5 feet away from that column, and this column here is about 4 feet away. They want a walk door right here, so we got plenty of room, but also I'm thinking about steel layout so that 3-foot panels are going to end right on this inside of the door jamb, which will be good for efficiency. I don't have to rip and waste a bunch of material. Then I'll have 4 short pieces above it, and then right on the other side of the door jamb will start a full piece. So those are the things I'm thinking about. Layout is key. And I think we don't even have to order any extra columns, because the 2 columns that were here are just gonna get shifted out and we're good to go. But the next thing I was thinking about is the whole goal was they wanted to be able to back a monster trailer truck all the way into the building. And this row will have to mimic that row. So I'm gonna make note of exactly what dimension we use there. And when we get to the inside row here that we're gonna have to mark out, we need to do the same so that they'll have a straight shot in and out of the building. And speaking of columns, look at that. JMac Metals, who gets a lot of our stuff, that entire trailer there is full of our columns, which it looks like the driver's ready for us. So before we keep doing this, let's go unload these columns, Greg, and then I'm just gonna take a picture of this.
It's just so much easier when it's this height.
That's why I did it for you, man.
Thanks, buddy.
Think I can take it?
This pile here?
Yeah. Those are 22 footers, I think.
I don't know, man. You try, I would try.
Yeah, why not? I'll always try.
Can you lift up more?
Well,
you're pretty heavy on that side.
yeah, I don't think I'm taking it.
Yeah, you're not getting that one. Back up.
Are there 2 piles up there?
Yeah.
That's a lot of weight. That it?
I've got one more up here, but go ahead and take that, and then.
All right, so we're gonna go ahead. Remember I talked about that outside column that we're kind of shifting around for the garage door? Well, on the interior wall, we're just gonna skip an entire column, and we'll have to do kind of a nice beefy header here, because we are gonna have 2 trusses coming in and getting supported on it. But that's no big deal. We've done that a ton, and LVLs are not that expensive. So Greg, what was my dimension?
167, 10.5.
All right, 167, 10.5. So we'll skip that, give them a nice 16-foot opening. I need to get back on the grind here. Stop talking, I gotta do the math. 83, 10.5?
Yeah.
That's what I'm talking about. My question is, does Stabila do that on purpose? Or is that just one of the screws they had? But I'm about tired of reeling up 300 feet of tape every 2 minutes. Why did they do that?
What?
It's unscrewing itself because I have to run it in reverse.
Oh.
Let me see if I can do the other side. Now that's gonna be impossible.
What if you put an extension bit on it? Would that help?
Yeah, if you got it.
Yeah.
That way we can keep that opened up as much as possible.
There, nice.
All right, last wall to lay out is the front wall. We got 2 garage doors and a little bit of a different post layout. So I gotta do some math in my head. I've got a garage door that's gonna start at 20-foot edge, which is actually 10.5 edge. Go back 2 1/4 to the center for the post. So 10.5, we're gonna go 8. All right, so that is edge, or that's it, sorry, this is center. And then we're gonna have an 18-foot door, so 20 plus 18. So 37, 10.5 is edge of jamb, which means we're gonna go 2 1/4 this way. There, center. So 38, that means 47, 10.5 is our center, because it's 10 foot. 10 foot, 58, 68, no, 58, sorry. So 57, 10.5 is jamb. Go back 2 1/4. The reason I'm going back 2 1/4 is because I want the edge of my doorway to be at the 10.5, and these are 3-ply 2x, so 4.5 total, split it in half, 2.25. So I'm just looking here for the center so I know exactly where to dig. Now 58 plus 18, 76. So 55, 10.5 is my edge, which means I need to come back 2.25 for center. And then we're gonna go 10 feet, which is 85, 10.5. 10 feet is 95, 10.5. Perfect. So that is the layout. We now have all of our holes marked. Really seems daunting at this point for the amount of time it takes to lay out and mark all these holes. I know it's going to be a lot of time to dig them all too. And we've got A-rock, I think it's A-rock, like 3 to 4 inch clean, stuff that you put underneath for good base, underneath this clean gravel here. So what we like to do is just take our level, even though we are getting a little bit of wind on this. We need to tighten up these strings probably, but obviously the string line is the edge of our column. We don't want to dig the hole at the edge of the column. We want it in the center of the column. So these are 2x8 columns, which means we've got about 3.5 inches, let's say, to the center. These levels are not 3.5, so I'm just kind of leveling it up, plumbing it up, and then just going off of it about 1 inch. That should get me really close to center. These holes ain't gonna be perfectly dead center anyway. By the time you hit the A-rock in between and it kind of moves around. But if we give ourselves the best chance at being center, then it'll probably work out when we go to set our brackets. So another monotonous job of just a lot of walking and spray painting. 137 holes. But there's going to be a lot of repetition and a lot of energy spent doing the same task. How's your shoulders feeling, Greg?
Strong.
Good,
strong.
good, good. You ready to try out that new hole cleaner?
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, this would be the perfect job to try it out on.
Yeah. All right, well, I'm just about out of paint, so good thing. We got all the marks on the ground. We have it all laid out. We've checked our measurements, and I feel really good about everything, which means we're now ready to start digging holes. So that's gonna be a different video. I don't want these videos to turn into really long videos, and I wanna kind of try to keep them, you know, segmented into certain types of the construction stage. So I don't wanna just blend it all together. So if you guys wanna follow along with this massive build, I still can't wrap my head around it because I've walked back and forth 100 times now, and I can't believe how long it takes me just to walk from one end to the other, let alone frame up an entire 304-foot wall, stand the wall, put the trusses up. Like, it's all gonna be here on the channel. So if you haven't already subscribed, maybe now's the time to do that. It's over here in the corner, and it doesn't cost you anything, doesn't take anything, and hopefully I can get you back to watch another video. So we're gonna get things set up. We're gonna move to digging 137 holes. Remember, if it's 5 minutes a hole, that's 11.5 hours worth of digging. So I'm gonna go get a book to read. Anyway, we'll catch you guys on another video, hopefully, and see you next time.